Texas. A single word that carries an outsized weight. For some, it conjures images of cowboy hats under blazing sunsets, dusty rodeos, and longhorn cattle roaming endless plains. For others, it means booming oil rigs, glittering city skylines, and highways that seem to stretch forever. But in truth, Texas is not just about wide open spaces and frontier spirit anymore. It has become something far larger, something global. This is not just the Lone Star State of myth. This is the Lone Star State of power, a place where population booms, skyscrapers climb skyward, companies relocate by the dozen, and political debates echo far beyond its borders. For years, California has reigned as America's economic engine, and New York has set the pace as a global financial and cultural capital. But now, quietly, steadily, relentlessly, Texas is closing in. The signs are everywhere. Migration charts, Fortune 500 announcements, oil export tallies, even the music charts and the Super Bowl stage. And if you look closely enough, you'll see it. The Lone Star is rising higher than ever before. The story of Texas isn't just regional anymore. It's national. And it may soon be global. But how did this happen? How did a territory once considered barren and remote, a place at the far edge of empire, turn into a juggernaut poised to overshadow the rest of the United States? To answer that, we have to start at the very beginning. A legacy of independence. To understand Texas, you first have to understand its soul. Texas is one of the few states in America that once stood as its own country. After breaking free from Mexico in 1836, Texas existed as an independent republic for nearly a decade. It minted its own currency, ran its own army, and even forged its own diplomacy. That short-lived republic left behind something more powerful than any law, an identity. Texans don't just see themselves as part of the United States. They see themselves as Texans. They carry the memory of independence like a badge. It's why the Lone Star flag isn't just decoration. It's a declaration. The state motto is simple: friendship. But anyone who's spent time here knows the deeper motto: don't mess with Texas. This independence has defined everything about Texas's trajectory. When others hesitated, Texas drilled. When others taxed, Texas resisted. When others doubted, Texas dared. And the results? They rewrote American history, from desolate plains to oil empire. In the 1800s, Texas was vast but sparsely populated. Cotton and cattle dominated the economy, and life was tough. But then came a moment that changed not only Texas, but the modern world. Spindletop. In January 1901, near the town of Beaumont, a geyser of oil blasted into the sky, shooting over 100 feet high and flowing at nearly 100,000 barrels a day. The strike stunned the world. Almost overnight, Texas transformed into the beating heart of the oil industry. Within a year, more than 1,500 oil companies had formed in the state. Boom towns erupted. Fortunes were made, and Texas went from rural backwater to industrial powerhouse. Houston, which had been a sleepy port town, suddenly surged as the global capital of energy. Its skyline rose alongside its pipelines. Engineers and roughnecks alike flooded in from across the country. The oil wealth didn't just fill wallets. It built highways, universities, hospitals, and entire cities. It funded Houston's Johnson Space Center, which would one day send humans to the moon. Oil transformed Texas into a symbol of American ambition. But here's the thing. Texas never stayed stuck in one identity. It used oil as a launchpad, not a crutch. A people on the move. Texas has always been about movement. of cattle, of goods, and of people. The state was a magnet for settlers in the 19th century, and it still is today. In 1950, Texas had just under 8 million people. By the year 2000, it had passed 20 million. And today, Texas is home to over 30.5 million residents, making it the second most populous state in America. But the real story isn't just how many people Texas has. It's who's coming and why. When the pandemic hit in 2020, California faced something unprecedented: an exodus. For the first time in modern history, more people left California than arrived. And where did they go? Many went east, straight to Texas. Tech workers packed up from San Francisco and moved to Austin. Families left Los Angeles and landed in Dallas suburbs. Retirees sold houses in Orange County and bought twice the space in Houston for half the cost. Texas wasn't just receiving people. It was receiving talent, capital, and culture. And unlike California, Texas wasn't slowing down. Between April 2020 and July 2022, Texas added nearly 900,000 new residents, while California shrank by almost 500,000. The result? The gap between the two states' populations, once over 13 million, has now narrowed to fewer than 8 million. At this pace, demographers predict that by the 2040s, Texas could overtake California as the nation's most populated state. And with population comes power, setting the stage. So here we are, a state forged in independence, fueled by oil, and exploding in population. Texas has rewritten its story before, and now it's rewriting it again. But this time, it's bigger. Much bigger. Because Texas's rise isn't just about more people or more oil. It's about influence on every front. Politics, economy, culture, even the way Americans see themselves. And as we'll see in the next part of this story, that influence is only growing. Population is destiny. And in Texas, destiny is arriving faster than anyone expected. For more than a century, California stood as the giant. Its booming population giving it the loudest voice in Washington and the biggest influence in presidential politics. But today, that script is flipping. And Texas is the state turning the page. The population surge. Let's go back in time for perspective. In the 1960 census, Texas was the sixth most populous state, behind New York, California, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Ohio. It was big, sure, but not dominant. By 1980, Texas had climbed to third, behind New York and California. And by the year 2000, it had leapt into second place. But here's the detail that matters most. Growth rates. Between 2010 and 2020, Texas grew by more than 4 million people, a staggering 16% increase. California, by contrast, grew by just 6%. And since 2020, California has started shrinking while Texas keeps surging. Dallas-Fort Worth alone has gained nearly 1.5 million people since 2010, making it the fastest-growing metro in the country. Austin has doubled its population in just 2 decades, earning the nickname Silicon Hills as tech workers flood in. Houston continues to expand outward in all directions, now home to nearly 7 million people in its metro area. It's not just growth, it's momentum. Families are putting down roots, companies are opening new campuses, and universities are attracting talent from across the globe. The political payoff. In America, people equal power, because congressional seats and electoral votes are based on population. And Texas is cashing in. After the 2020 census, Texas gained 2 more seats in the House of Representatives, bringing its total to 38. That means Texas now controls nearly 9% of the House all on its own. And with those seats come 40 electoral votes in presidential elections. To put that into perspective, Florida, a political powerhouse in its own right, has 30 electoral votes. New York, once the kingmaker, is down to 28. Texas outpaces them all. And while California still holds the crown at 54 electoral votes, the trend is clear. California is shrinking. Texas is expanding. Within 2 decades, that balance could flip, making Texas the single most important battleground in presidential politics. Red, blue, and something in between. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. For decades, Texas has been a Republican stronghold. Since 1980, every presidential election in the state has gone red. Politicians from Texas, George W. Bush, Ted Cruz, Rick Perry, have defined the national Republican brand. But demographics are shifting. The influx of new residents from California, New York, and Illinois has made Texas more competitive. Cities like Austin, Dallas, and Houston lean increasingly Democratic, while rural areas remain staunchly conservative. The result is a state that is still red, but by slimmer margins every year. In 2020, Donald Trump won Texas by just 5.6 percentage points, the closest margin in decades. Analysts say that if current trends continue, Texas could become a true swing state within the next 10 to 15 years. Think about that for a moment. A Texas that could swing red or blue would be the single most powerful prize in presidential politics. Win Texas, and you win the White House, setting the national agenda. But Texas's influence isn't just about numbers. It's about narrative. On issues from immigration to energy, education to healthcare, Texas doesn't just follow national debates. It drives them. Border security policies in Texas ripple through Washington. Education standards written in Texas shape textbook markets across the country. Energy laws in Texas influence the entire global oil market, even in cultural debates. Whether about gun rights, abortion laws, or renewable energy, Texas's policies become flashpoints that define the conversation nationwide. Love it or hate it, Texas sets the tone. And as its population grows and its political weight expands, that influence will only deepen. A state that shapes presidents. There's also a symbolic dimension to all of this. No state has produced more U.S. presidents since World War II than Texas. Lyndon B. Johnson, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush. Each reshaped America in ways still felt today, from civil rights legislation to foreign wars. And that tradition isn't slowing down. Every major election season, the nation looks to Texas politicians, governors, senators, mayors, for candidates who might rise to the highest office. It's not a question of if another Texas president will emerge. It's a question of when. The turning tide. So, let's put this together. Texas has a surging population, while California is shrinking. Texas is adding congressional seats, while New York and Illinois are losing them. Texas is growing more competitive politically, with the potential to become the ultimate swing state. And Texas is setting the agenda on national debates from energy to education. That's not just influence. That's transformation. But as powerful as politics may be, they're only one piece of the puzzle. To see the full picture, we have to turn to something even bigger. Money. Because Texas isn't just gaining people and power. It's gaining wealth on a scale that reshapes the entire global economy. The trillion-dollar economy. If people are power, then money is momentum, and in Texas, momentum is everywhere. The Lone Star State isn't just a place of cowboy myths and wide-open landscapes anymore. It's one of the world's economic heavyweights. By almost any measure, Texas's economy is staggering in size, diversity, and growth. In 2023, Texas's gross domestic product hit a record-breaking $2.6 trillion. To put that in perspective, if Texas were an independent country, it would rank as the 8th largest economy in the world. Bigger than Canada, bigger than Russia, bigger than Brazil. Only the US, China, Japan, Germany, India, the UK, and France would outrank it. But it's not just the size that matters. It's the speed. While many state economies grow slowly year over year, Texas's has surged ahead, fueled by energy, tech, finance, agriculture, and manufacturing. Analysts project that within the next 2 decades, Texas could crack the top 6 global economies, leapfrogging entire nations. This is no longer just a state economy. This is a global force. The energy crown. At the heart of this economic engine is energy. For decades, Texas has been America's oil giant. And that hasn't changed. The Permian Basin, stretching across West Texas, is one of the most productive oil fields on the planet. In fact, it pumps out more oil every day than entire countries like Iraq or Venezuela. Combined with the Eagle Ford Shale and other fields, Texas produces nearly half of America's crude oil. But here's the twist. Texas isn't just about fossil fuels anymore. It's also the nation's number 1 producer of wind energy and a fast-rising leader in solar. Drive across the high plains, and you'll see endless rows of wind turbines slicing through the sky. In central Texas, solar farms now sprawl across the land, feeding renewable energy into the grid. This dual dominance, oil and renewables, makes Texas unique. Few regions on Earth can compete with both. Saudi Arabia may dominate oil, but it lags in renewables. California may lead in solar, but it doesn't touch Texas in oil. Texas stands alone at the crossroads of old and new energy. And in a world where energy equals power, that makes Texas indispensable. The tech boom. If energy gave Texas its wealth, tech is giving it its future. Over the last decade, Austin has exploded into one of the fastest-growing tech hubs on the planet. Tesla moved its headquarters there in 2021, with Elon Musk himself declaring Austin the future of innovation. Oracle shifted its base to the city. Apple built a billion-dollar campus that now houses thousands of employees. Google, Meta, and Amazon have all expanded their footprints in the region. The city, once known for live music and laid-back vibes, has transformed into Silicon Hills, a rival to Silicon Valley itself. And it's not just Austin. Dallas has become a hub for telecom and finance, attracting giants like AT&T, Texas Instruments, and Comerica Bank. Houston, long known for oil, is emerging as a leader in life sciences and aerospace. San Antonio thrives in cybersecurity, thanks to its deep military ties. Instead of relying on one economic sector, Texas is building several innovation corridors at once. That makes it not only richer, but more resilient. The Fortune 500 migration. Nothing signals economic power more than corporate headquarters. And in recent years, Texas has pulled off something astonishing. It now hosts more Fortune 500 headquarters than California. As of 2024, Texas is home to 55 Fortune 500 companies, compared to California's 53. And the list is growing. Tesla, headquartered in Austin. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, headquartered in Houston. Oracle in Austin. ExxonMobil in Irving. American Airlines in Fort Worth. A T&T in Dallas. And here's the kicker. Nearly 40% of companies relocating to Texas in the past few years have come from California. The reasons are clear. No state income tax. No corporate income tax. Lower cost of living. Pro-business policies. And room to grow. Literally. Companies can build sprawling campuses in Texas that would be unthinkable in San Francisco or Manhattan. Governor Greg Abbott calls Texas the headquarters of headquarters. And looking at the list, he's not wrong. The export superpower. But corporate HQs are only part of the story. Exports tell the rest. In 2023, Texas exported $444 billion worth of goods. That's not just more than any other state. It's more than double California. To put it in perspective, Texas's exports to Mexico alone, valued at $144 billion, nearly matched California's total exports worldwide. And it's not just oil. Texas exports chemicals, electronics, machinery, aerospace products, and agricultural goods. Its ports, especially Houston and Corpus Christi, are among the busiest in the nation. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport has become a global cargo hub. Highways, railroads, and pipelines connect Texas to every corner of the U.S. and beyond. Texas doesn't just power America's economy, it powers the global economy. Business is booming. Put it all together, and the picture is clear. Texas is no longer just the land of oil and cattle. It's the land of energy dominance, tech innovation, Fortune 500 headquarters, and record-breaking exports. It's the second largest economy in America, on pace to rival entire countries. And here's the most important part. This isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. But Texas's rise isn't just measured in numbers. It's measured in people and places. And nowhere is that more visible than in its cities. The heart of the Texas Triangle. When you think of Texas, you might imagine wide-open deserts, endless highways, or tiny towns with dusty saloons. But here's the twist. The real power of Texas isn't in its small towns anymore. It's in its booming cities. And together, those cities form something truly extraordinary. The Texas Triangle. The Texas Triangle. Picture a triangle on the map, with Dallas-Fort Worth at the top, Houston on the bottom right, and San Antonio on the bottom left. Draw a line connecting them, and then put Austin right in the middle. That's the Texas Triangle, and it's the beating heart of the state. This region makes up less than a quarter of Texas's land area, but it's home to over 22 million people, nearly 3/4 of the entire state's population. And it's growing faster than almost anywhere else in America. Dallas-Fort Worth alone has added nearly 1.5 million people since 2010, making it the fastest-growing metro area in the country. By 2035, experts predict it will overtake Chicago to become the third-largest metro area in the U.S. Houston, meanwhile, remains the global energy capital, not just for oil, but increasingly for renewables and cutting-edge energy research. Austin is the tech magnet, with startups and billion-dollar companies sprouting like wildflowers. San Antonio balances military might with a booming cybersecurity sector. Put all of these together, and the Texas Triangle becomes something more than a region. It becomes a mega region, one of the largest and most dynamic in the world. Infrastructure powerhouse. The secret sauce behind this mega region isn't just people or jobs. It's connectivity. Texas is located almost perfectly at the midpoint of the continental United States. That means it's a natural hub for transportation and logistics. And Texas has taken full advantage. The state has 314,000 miles of public roads, more than any other state. Over 10,000 miles of freight rail crisscross the landscape. There are nearly 400 airports, including some of the busiest in the world. And 19 deepwater ports connect Texas directly to global trade routes. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport alone is a giant. In 2023, it ranked among the top 3 busiest airports in the world by passenger seats, rivaling Atlanta and Dubai. It's also a major cargo hub, moving goods at a scale few airports can match. Houston's Port of Houston is another monster, handling more international tonnage than any other U.S. port. Combine it with Corpus Christi, Beaumont, and Galveston, and Texas becomes America's maritime gatekeeper. And with FedEx, UPS, and Amazon hubs spread throughout the state, Texas isn't just moving people, it's moving the world's goods. But raw infrastructure only tells part of the story. If Texas's hard power is measured in oil and exports, its soft power is measured in culture. Think about sports. The Dallas Cowboys aren't just a football team. They're a global brand, often called America's team. Their stadium, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, is one of the largest in the world, and a modern-day coliseum where millions gather in person and on screens. Houston hosts the Astros, Rockets, and Texans. San Antonio has the Spurs. Austin has become a global stop for Formula One racing with the Circuit of the Americas. Then there's food. Texas barbecue isn't just famous. It's practically a religion. From brisket, slow-cooked for 18 hours, to smoked sausages and racks of ribs, it's a culinary export that has traveled the world. And let's not forget Tex-Mex, with sizzling fajitas, breakfast tacos, and queso dip that has fans far beyond the border. Music? Texas is a powerhouse. Country legends like Willie Nelson and George Strait. Rock icons like ZZ Top. Modern stars like Beyoncé, Post Malone, and Travis Scott. Austin isn't called the live music capital of the world for nothing. Every night, in every corner of the city, you'll find stages lit up and crowds swaying. Even Hollywood has been pulled into Texas's orbit. From Friday Night Lights to Yellowstone, Texas has become a setting, a symbol, and a character in American storytelling. The global Texas brand. Texas doesn't just influence through numbers. It influences through identity. It's cowboy boots and cutting-edge tech, oil rigs and wind turbines, football stadiums the size of cities, and music festivals that shake the ground. It's both tradition and reinvention. And that identity, bold, larger than life, unapologetic, resonates far beyond state lines. Around the world, when people think of America, Texas is often what they picture. That's the power of culture. And that's why Texas's influence is as much emotional as it is economic. By now, if you're still watching, you probably realize Texas isn't just rising. It's redefining what a U.S. state can be. And trust me, we're only halfway through the story. So if you want more deep dives into the forces shaping America's future, hit the like button and subscribe. The cultural dominance of Texas is undeniable. But there's one more piece of the puzzle: the role Texas plays in politics, military, and national security. And that may be the most influential factor of all. We've seen the people, we've seen the money, we've seen the culture. But if there's one arena where Texas's influence truly echoes across the nation, it's politics. And this is where the story gets even more dramatic. The political powerhouse. Every 10 years, America redraws its political map through the census. And every 10 years, Texas climbs higher on the ladder. With more than 30 million people, Texas now holds 38 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, more than any state except California. Add those seats to its 40 electoral votes, and you can see why Texas is a kingmaker in presidential elections. Here's the kicker. Texas has been a Republican stronghold for decades. The last time it voted blue in a presidential race was 1976. That means for nearly half a century, Texas has been the foundation of the GOP's national strategy. But demographic changes, migration from other states, and shifting urban politics are reshaping the landscape. Austin leans progressive. Houston and Dallas are more mixed. San Antonio often swings. Rural Texas remains deeply conservative. That tension between red and blue, tradition and change, makes Texas not just powerful, but unpredictable. In American politics, it's often said, as Texas goes, so goes the nation. And if Texas were ever to flip politically, the entire electoral map would be rewritten overnight. The military muscle. Politics isn't the only area where Texas flexes its influence. It's also the backbone of America's military power. The state is home to 15 major military bases and installations, housing hundreds of thousands of active duty troops, reserves, and civilian workers. Fort Cavazos, formerly Fort Hood, is one of the largest military bases in the world. Joint Base San Antonio hosts multiple branches and is a cornerstone of U.S. Air Force training. Fort Bliss, near El Paso, is a critical hub for armored units. Combined, these installations make Texas a fortress, not just defending the state, but projecting U.S. military power globally. And it's not just about defense. Texas is a leader in cybersecurity, aerospace, and defense technology. San Antonio alone is sometimes called the cybersecurity capital of the nation, with both government and private sector forces working to protect America's digital future. In terms of raw military capacity, Texas is almost a country unto itself. Challenges in the Lone Star State. Let's pause here, because to tell the story honestly, we need to look at the shadows too. For all its strengths, Texas faces challenges as massive as its ambitions. Climate change has made the state vulnerable to extreme weather. Hurricanes on the Gulf Coast, droughts in the West, and crippling winter storms like the one in 2021 that left millions without power. Rapid population growth has strained infrastructure, from highways clogged with traffic to water systems stretched thin. And then there are social issues. Immigration debates rage along the southern border. The balance between state and federal policies often turns Texas into the front line of America's culture wars, from healthcare to education to gun rights. In many ways, Texas is a mirror of America's own struggles. Bigger, louder, more intense, but the same themes, magnified. The road ahead. So where does this leave us? Texas stands today as a state unlike any other, bigger than most countries, richer than most economies, more influential than most nations. It has the population power to keep climbing. It has the economic muscle to rival entire nations. It has the cultural sway to shape how the world sees America. And it has the political clout to decide who leads the country. But here's the ultimate question. Will Texas simply rise within the United States? Or will it come to define the United States itself? History tells us one thing. When Texas grows, America changes. From the oil booms that fueled wars, to the tech shifts redefining work, to the migration waves reshaping demographics, Texas has always been at the center of transformation. And now, as we look toward the future, Texas might not just be the most influential state. It might be the state that decides America's future. So let's leave it here. Is Texas destined to overshadow California and New York and become the undisputed number one state in America? Will it seize the crown in the 2040s or even sooner? Or will the challenges, from climate to politics to infrastructure, slow down the Lone Star State's meteoric rise? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this debate isn't just about one state. It's about the future of the entire nation. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, remember, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're only scratching the surface of the forces shaping our world.